All right, awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you stepping in on this recording. My name is Matthew Vicola. I represent Collette, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about my partnership, our partnership, the trip with Tower Hill Botanical Garden for Europe's cosmopolitan cities. But the real draw here, and the reason we're so excited to present this to you, is this is going to feature the Floriade Expo in Amsterdam. So Floriade Expo 2022. This tour is set to leave July 9th through the 18th. And we've taken care of all the details for you to make this whole experience and your trip to the Floriade simple and easy. We are Collette. So again, I said my name is Matthew Vicola. I represent Collette, the tour company. And again, we've partnered with your friends at Tower Hill Botanical Garden for this one. And at Collette, who are we? Many of you may have heard of us. We're a local tour company right out of Rhode Island, 104 years old. So you probably heard of us at some point or another. But we provide guided tour vacations. So 4-star guided touring, where we try to maximize your time and your dollar. We want to plan itineraries thinking about your enjoyment. So that goes from the transportation all the way from the garden, all the way to the Netherlands and back. As well as all of the transportation on the ground, the meals, the sightseeing, the hotel accommodations, they've all been planned by an expert to maximize your time and make sure that you can really dig in and enjoy the destination. So I'm going to talk about the day-by-day itinerary today and what's included on our departure to Europe's cosmopolitan cities. But I did want to introduce you and talk a little more about Collette and try to create a little confidence. It's October and things are getting better. I've got so many of my guests that have recently come back from travel, but there have been lots of cancellations over the last year, and there's been lots of different ways that the travel industry has handled that. And I just want to talk about how Collette handled the last crisis so that you can understand that the reason Tower Hill has partnered with us is because of our commitment that really, if we haven't provided you a travel service, we don't believe we've earned your money. So we've done all this planning. We're going to make it really easy for you to sign up. But over the last year, when we canceled tours, we gave our guests 3 options. And option number 3 was always full money back. Because again, it's our commitment that if we haven't operated a tour, we haven't earned your money. And so I want you to know that going into next year, we've got a lot of confidence. Again, I've got lots of guests coming back this fall from Europe. But should anything go on in the world and it's ever not safe to travel, you've got a great travel partner in Collette, because we're going to stand by you with our commitment to make sure that your enjoyment and well-being is at the heart of everything we do. We want to make sure that when you go out to these destinations, you're safe and that you're enjoying and that everything that there is to enjoy out in the destination is there for you. So I've been talking anecdotally to my guests as they've been coming back this last few weeks, and they've been telling me how Europe has been so amazing to see it with fewer tourists and getting to really enjoy the culture, the people, the architecture, the food, so many things to be enjoyed in Europe. And this tour is great. Europe's Cosmopolitan Cities is our 10-day program, and it includes the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. So this is the map of the itinerary. Again, the tour actually starts right at the garden. So we have a motor coach pick everyone up at the Tower Hill Botanic Garden. We're going to take you to Logan. There's going to be an overnight flight from Logan to Amsterdam. And then we're going to spend 3 nights in Amsterdam, 2 nights in Brussels, and 3 nights in Paris. So this tour is lovely because we really get to enjoy each city, unpack, use the draws in the hotel, so we're not just rushing from place to place. And you'll see here the dotted line, we're actually going to do the high-speed train from Brussels to Paris, really maximizing your time in each one of these places. This is a tour activity level 3, so I do want to set the expectation that there will be some walking tours. We're in Europe, so cobblestone streets, uneven walkways, and there might be walking tours from 1 to 2 hours of our day, especially when we get to the Floriade. It's a big expo, so we want to make sure that you are ready for this type of activity, but we will also have balanced of free time for you to recharge throughout the entire experience. So this is the flow. Again, so we do day 1 is our overnight flight, and day 2 we arrive in Amsterdam. It is the 800-year-old capital of Holland, and we give everyone that arrival day time to settle in. So no real included activities that day. You'll get in probably in the middle of the day, leave your bags at the hotel and hit the ground running, or take some time to relax. The tour manager, who is with you throughout the course of this vacation, will be with you at the hotel when you arrive and will be able to give you some suggestions questions for your free time. And if you're interested that evening, you may join the tour manager who's going to do a red light district tour to stroll through the famous district in Amsterdam. You don't have to join, but the tour manager knows people love to see this. And so they'll go out that first night for that walking tour. And then the next morning when we wake up, this will be considered day 3. It's our first full day together waking up in Amsterdam. And we're going to start off with a city tour of the city by canal. So we're going to hop on a little private boat and cruise along under the bridges and passing all the quaint Dutch houses, learning about the very unique and particular architecture. And then we'll step off the boat into a little local neighborhood and we'll get to explore Amsterdam further. And we're going to also have a lunchtime tasting tour. So we'll go around this neighborhood and taste some of the delicacies that Amsterdam is known for. Definitely their little pancakes and their Gouda cheese, but there's so much great food to have here. We'll give you the rest of your afternoon and evening at leisure, and that's yours to discover Amsterdam as you wish. And there's plenty to do there, lots of museums to enjoy, strolling the streets and people watching, of course. Definitely something to enjoy. The next day is going to be our full day visit to the Floriade Expo. And this is going to be, oh, sorry, my slides are stuck here. So this is going to be a vibrant day. So the Expo is dedicated to the city of the future this year. And so it happens once every 10 years. So it's a once in a decade event, and it celebrates horticulture on an epic scale. So there's something like 80 football fields worth of land dedicated to the Expo. And they've had the theme, as I mentioned, the city of the future. So this is an opportunity for people to innovate and show what like growing a green city would look like. And hopefully it's promoting creativity and sustainable solutions for the future. And while we're here, you've got access to all of the grounds. I don't think you'll make it all 80 football fields in a day, but there will be countless exhibits for you to enjoy and explore independently. Over 40 countries actually come to exhibit at Floriade. So from presentations to workshops, exhibitions, there's a great greenhouse complex, and then all the different structures that they've built here. They've also got, as you can see, a gondola that can take you around for a beautiful bird's eye view of the whole thing. And this is sort of the layout and the map of it now, but really no pictures can be seen of it live. They're all renderings because it's still growing. They start with the shrubs and then they put in the additional plants and then the flower bulbs are going in. So hopefully it all comes together all at once for us to enjoy next year. So our full day at the Floriade will be really yours to enjoy. Now there will be a time in the afternoon where the motor coach is going to bring everyone back. But the Floriade goes on for a few more hours. And so some people may wish to stay a little longer. And if you do, you'll see here in the photo on the left, there's a train station built right into Floriade. And so if you're adventurous and you want to stay longer, you can definitely hop on the train back into the city. But the motor coach will give us plenty of time there if you want to just get on the motor coach with everyone else. Over 2,000 trees planted there. It's so amazing. And then you'll get back to Amsterdam that evening and you'll have that evening at leisure for yourself to go off and enjoy one last evening in Amsterdam, because the next morning we are going to set out and say farewell to the Netherlands. We're heading into Belgium, but along the way we're going to stop at a family-run cheese shop. Now I've done many of this tour, not during Floriade year, but I've done this tour. And I loved the cheese shop, and not just because of the cheese, the Gouda, which is delicious, but all of the different accompaniments they have to it. And so not only do you learn about how it's made, but of course there will be a tasting. And so this is a fun little stop on our way into Belgium. And then we will arrive later in the afternoon in Brussels, which is the multicultural hub of the European Union. So this is the head of all of Europe. And we're going to get to know our home for the next 2 nights by enjoying a welcome dinner in the historic heart of Brussels. And this is such a beautiful town. It's like a fairy tale, similar architecture to Amsterdam, but just a little more ornamental. And you'll notice that with all of the gold leafs and the flourishings on all of the buildings. Beautiful big open squares. The beer culture here is second to none. So if you like a nice micro brew, this is where it all started. The next day, we're going to give you a choice on how you get to explore Belgium. And so you can choose, these are not an additional cost, this is built right into the tour, whether you'd like to join us in Bruges for a walking tour, or you want to stay in the city of Brussels for a panoramic motor coach tour. So if you join us to Bruges, it's the medieval city. It's like a fairy tale town. It's got little rivers going through it. little bridges and a beautiful architecture. And so our tour manager will orient us to the area, and then we'll have a few hours on our own to walk along the canals. There are more than 80 bridges, and there's also a famous brewery, the Zot Brewery, that I visited while I was here, so definitely stop in for a beer. But if you prefer to stay in Brussels and stay in the city itself, we will do a panoramic city tour of Brussels, and you'll get to take in the Grand Palace, and this is the Atomium, which was built for the European World Fair. And it's the heart of the parliament, so we'll get to go through the European Union Parliament area, where they have an interactive museum of the history of the European Union Parliament. And then when you finish up here, you're right in the city center for you to enjoy the remainder of your afternoon. The next day, we are leaving Brussels and heading to France. We're going to Paris. And so we're going to zip through on the high-speed train. And this is great if you haven't traveled in Europe by train. It is the way to do it. They are efficient and quick and luxurious. And so it's a quick 2-hour train ride from Brussels to Paris. And then we will arrive and say bonjour to the capital city, which has got a blend of cultures, cuisines, and history. And we're going to visit the hilltop arrondissement of Montmartre, which is the Bohemian village, famous for its iconic Sacré-Cœur Basilica, but really it's just like all of the history and the artists that have called this place home, which is where we will call home for the next few nights. And so we will have our tour guide sort of orient us to the neighborhood, show us where all of the great things in the city are, and then we'll just give you some time to settle into your hotel, and you can have the evening in Paris on your own. But if you'd like, there is an optional tour where you can sign on for us to take care of your evening this night. It is a 5-hour option, okay? We're going to the Paradis Latin, which is a can cabaret. I mean, if you know the Moulin Rouge, this is their, their sibling type club, the Paradis Latin. It's actually more original. It's the original. And I've done this cabaret show. There is nudity, so brace yourself for that. If you aren't aware, it's like a dinner and a show, acrobatics. I say go watch the movie Moulin Rouge. It'll give you a good idea of what's going to happen here. But it is definitely something unique to Paris and worth seeing. And so if you want us to take care of your evening and you want some real entertainment, the Paradis Latin is something you may opt to sign into. And then the next day when we wake up in Paris, we have a choice on how we would like to tour the city here as well. And again, this one isn't an additional cost. This is built into the itinerary. How would you like to see the city? Whether it be a coach tour, or would you like to take a walking metro tour? Really, it's going to depend on really your activity level and how comfortable you feel jumping on the metro, but the tour guide is with you on the metro tour, which is really great as well. So one guide will take us off and do a coach tour, and we'll do the panoramic tour of the city. So we'll see the Arc de Triomphe, the Champs-Élysées, we'll see the magnificent Palace Vendôme, and then a local guide will sort of whisk us around and give us all of the history. Beautiful sites, definitely worth seeing these if you've never been to Paris. Absolutely, all of the main sites that you expect to see. But if you're a little more adventurous and you want to see what life is like when you can hop on and hop off the metro and get a little bit further than just the downtown region, there are 14 lines on the Paris Metro, so definitely something you can manage on your own, but very much easier with a guide with you. It's the 5th oldest underground system, and so we're going to hop on and hop off in a number of different neighborhoods. We'll do the medieval Versailles neighborhood, and we'll go to the Palace Royal, and we'll get to take in the grandeur of the Grand Palace as well. So whichever you choose, you're going to get a good orientation of the city of Paris, and then you'll have the afternoon time to spend at leisure. And this is the photo of when I go to Paris. This is what I dream of. I think of sitting at a cafe, having a glass of wine, eating some cheese, and just watching people go by. Like, this is life of a Parisian. And so definitely take some afternoon time to do that. My favorite travel memory is from sitting at a cafe, just like in this photo. But if you've, again, one of these people that wants all of your time accounted for and want to see everything you can on your vacation, and I'm definitely your type, so I'm going to find a way to do all of these things, I would sign on to the optional tour of the Louvre. It's a 3-hour tour. You don't have to wait in line to get in, and you've got a guide. And that's the whole thing about these grand museums of Europe, is that you can go into them, you'll wait in line a long time, and then you're going to scurry around trying to figure out what the most important piece of art is. And having the guide be able to take you through and get you to see in 3 hours what the most important pieces are in this museum, it's going to be much more worth your time. The most famous piece, of course, is the Mona Lisa, and you'll absolutely get to see it, but there are so many others here as well. And so if you'd like, you can sign on to the optional tour of the Louvre. And then the next day, we're giving you the whole day at leisure in Paris. So this is the day that people go shopping, or they want to go and again do that Paris cafe life. You know, this whole day can be yours to explore on your own. But we built in, as part of being a member of the Tower Hill Botanic Garden and wanting to make sure that we've really maximized this trip for you, we've actually built in the Palace at Versailles and the gardens at Versailles, because we know the gardens are going to be magnificent this time of year. Usually this whole day is at leisure and this is optional, but we just knew that you needed to see this. So included 4 hours of the day are going to be getting out to Versailles and coming back. And again, totally worth doing, absolutely something you need to see. And arranging it yourself is so difficult. You have to get a train to get there. It's a very long walk. And then, of course, the grounds are huge and magnificent. So having a guide be able to take you through and get into some of the famous rooms, of course, the Hall of Mirrors, which is just iconic, and then the gardens, which are spectacular. And on that same trip, another one of my favorite memories was having an ice cream cone in these gardens and walking around and seeing where Marie Antoinette's house was out in the distance. So it's really just magnificent and beautiful, and a visit to be seen. And so this will be how we spend 4 hours of our day on our last day in Paris. And then our farewell to our adventure, our farewell dinner with each other. We are going to have a fabulous dinner and a cruise along the Seine as we toast our farewell to each other. And so a beautiful Seine dinner cruise to cap off our evening, see the Eiffel Tower lit up in the distance, and the night is spectacular. And then the next day, there will be a flight from Paris to Boston. There'll be a motor coach waiting for us in Boston to take us right back to the garden. And so again, just to recap, this tour covers 3 of the most amazing cities in Europe: Amsterdam, Brussels, and Paris. You're going to be here during the Floriade Expo, and you get a full day to explore Floriade. And then, of course, the towers, the gardens at Versailles. This is just such a special trip. I'm so glad that Tower Hill put this together, and I'm so excited for you to get the opportunity to join us. So again, to recap as well, we've got the hometown pickup service, which will pick us up round trip from the garden with our airfare from Logan. And then if there's any ways that we at Collette can help personalize this experience for you, in a moment I'm going to talk about pricing and how to sign up. It does include in the price an economy air ticket. If you'd like to upgrade your airfare, if you'd like to come in early to Amsterdam or stay a few extra nights in Paris, please let us know. And don't forget about those choices built into the tour. So you get choices on how you explore Brussels and how you explore Paris. And there's the optional tours to Paradis Latin for you as well. So lots of ways to personalize your adventure. One thing I absolutely think everyone needs to consider, it's the no worries travel protection waiver. So at Collette, we again believe that if we haven't offered you a travel service, we haven't earned your money. And so if you take our travel protection waiver, you're protected up until the day before departure for cancellation for any reason, and you get all of your money back in the form that you paid. So again, take the travel protection waiver, and up until the day before departure, every dollar is refundable to you for cancellation for any reason in the form that you paid, less the premium on the insurance waiver itself. And then once you're on tour, you're covered for medical, evacuation, lost or delayed luggage. In the last year and a half, we've learned that having strong travel protection is essential. It is definitely safe to go out in the world. There are new restrictions and new hoops to jump through, but it is definitely safe. Anytime it's been important, but I just think more than ever, making sure you've got good coverage on your travels. And then once you've traveled with us at Collette, we've got the Collette Passport Club. So your next tour, you'll have $150 off for your next trip if you travel within a year, or $100 off if you don't travel within that year, but you travel in the next year. But I know that the garden will be putting out some other great floral adventures in the future, and so you'll have some dollars off of those built in for yourself. And then you do want to just make sure that your passport has validity through the end of 2022. So I would actually make sure that your passport's valid at least until January or February of 2023. And that's the minimum. There may be entry forms or testing requirements. Hopefully by July of next year, this has all come to pass. But if should anything, be necessary for you to make sure you've checked the box or jumped through the hoop to get through this trip, we at Collette will make sure that we've given you all the information you need to make that happen. And we've been seeing our guests do it over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and they've no one's happy that the world's gotten a little more difficult to travel through, but everyone has been excited that they've taken those trips, and we're here to help you make that a little bit easier. And so to go over the numbers, the tour goes on July 9th through the 18th. The deposit for the land and air is $600, and if you're going to take the travel protection waiver, it's an additional $399. Whatever you give to us at Collette, it is 100% refundable to you until January 10th. And so I mean land, air, insurance even, every dollar you've given us is refundable to you until January 10th. After January 10th, the travel protection waiver would become non-refundable, but your deposit would still be refundable. And if you haven't taken the travel protection waiver, the deposit becomes non-refundable after January 10th. Final payments are due in May, and the total cost, land and air per person in a double room, is $4,600. A single room is $1,000 more, it's $5,600. And again, you've got until January 10th to get those deposits in. So here's how you sign up. And if you're watching this on the recording now, I suggest you pause here. I'm sure that you've seen this link on the website. The website is for the garden as well, but you might want to write it down. It is gateway.gocollette.com/link/1968941. And there will be a button right at the top that says sign up now. You can click through and register for this trip. Or you can reach out to Kyle Jacoby over at the garden. His phone number up here, 508-869-6111, extension 101. And again, the web link is there. So I'm going to pause to see if there are any questions here. And I'm going to ask it. Yeah, awesome.
Thanks, Matt. Definitely have some questions throw your way. Let's see here. Hold on. So who would go on this trip? Would other people be attending? Would other gardens or other groups be meeting up with us somewhere?
Yeah, so we're definitely excited to have a group coming together from Tower Hill, but when you do land in Amsterdam, we're going to be meeting up with another group of people. And I can't say specifically where they'll be coming all over the United States. We've got some people that will be coming from other gardens potentially, just like yours, and some might just be individuals that are excited to go to the Expo and have called directly to us and just asked either through their travel agent or finding us another way to just join onto the tour. At this point, there are, just like the Tower Hill's promoting this, there are a few other people promoting, and we'll know soon exactly who will be traveling with us.
Great. And when you do go on the trip, obviously a lot of stuff is planned, and you did mention there would also be time to like go personally explore. Do we have to be a part of everything? If there's something along the trip we might not want to go on, can we do our own thing during that time? Kind of how does that work?
Absolutely. So as with everything, and this is your vacation, so you're going to want to make it your own. And I always suggest you talk to the tour manager. The tour manager will be in touch 2 weeks before your departure even. They send you out a pre-email, but they're with you from start to finish, and they want to make sure your vacation's really special. So if there's something that you're not interested in, let them know. But if there's something you really want to do, if there's a free afternoon and you wanted to plan something, or you want a suggestion for how you spend some of your time, they're going to try to help make you a reservation or tell you how you would need to go about getting to where you need to go in that free time. So I suggest go to the website and check out the day-by-day itinerary. Each date is listed there. So if there's something you really want to do, you can even do a little pre-planning yourself. And yes, as long as the motor coach is coming back to that same hotel that night, you don't have to join us for anything if you don't like. And just make sure you're with us as we get to the next place.
Awesome. Can you speak a little bit more about the insurance and kind of if we put a deposit down or we put our payment down for the whole trip and something happens, and how we can, if we get that money back, how it happens, what we wouldn't get back?
Sure. So first off, the tour cost is $4,600, I believe was the number I had listed there. And we have two payments to pay for that. So there's the deposit, which is $600, and then the final payment that comes up in May. And between that, if someone would like to make installment payments, that's great. We don't ask for it. So at first, when you're signing up for the trip, you're going to leave your $600 deposit. And if you take the travel protection, we need you to leave that $399 down at the time of deposit as well. So now that you have the travel protection, that person's protected all the way to the day before departure. So whether they cancel, you know, the day before or the month before, every dollar less that insurance is refundable to them. The January 10th date is important because we call that our deposit due date. It's our deposit due date and our 100% refundable date, meaning if you leave your $600 deposit and you leave your $399 insurance and you cancel before January 10th, we would give you all $999 back. Like, we're not going to keep any money from you. It's after January 10th that penalties start to apply. And so after January 10th, if you've taken the insurance, you've left us $999. If you canceled on January 12th, you would get $600 back, which is your land and air deposit, and we would retain the insurance premium of $399. If you didn't take the insurance after January 10th, that $600 would become non-refundable. So we give everyone a few months from now to decide that they want to put their name down and reserve their seat, and if they change their mind, get all your money back. Then after January 10th, that's when penalties begin to apply. That's when the insurance really benefits.
Great. And then you had mentioned, obviously, COVID is a hard thing to judge this far in advance. But just reconnecting on maybe two of the big points is that despite it's far into the future, it's probably a good idea, or probably will be required to be vaccinated still, and having a smartphone will be a really useful, almost essential piece of travel, correct?
Yeah, thank you for that. So yes, right now we found that to travel, the smartphone was a key. So I'm glad you bring that up. Yes, fully vaccinated is important. You do need to be fully vaccinated to travel with us on this tour next year. So thank you for mentioning that. And we did find that a smartphone was essential. And I still feel that, you know, there's going to be certain things that I think don't go away even after COVID itself goes away. And that may be an entry form or checking in with the government before you arrive. And so making sure that you have an email address and access to it abroad is going to be really important. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to have a smartphone. Maybe it's an iPad or a laptop, but having some sort of device where you can connect to your email has been essential. One of the things that currently is a requirement is you need to test negative before you come back to the United States. And so we have been suggesting to our travelers that we would take a test with them to Europe that required their smartphones. In the last few weeks, we found that the testing capacity in Europe has actually gotten so good that we're able to arrange testing on the ground in a way that is not obtrusive to the flow of the tour and actually makes it a little bit easier for those people that may not have the smartphone. So I just say that, you know, call us, talk about it. Let's have a chat about, you know, what the concerns are. But I do know that, you know, I have seen people traveling over the last 6 to 8 weeks to and from Europe. And there's been, you know, an entry form you have to fill out, and some countries require a negative test before you get there. And they're hoops. They're definitely hoops that need to be jumped through, but they are not insurmountable. And everyone that I've been chatting with has had really a breeze getting to and from. It was more of the fear of going was kind of a larger obstacle than the actual hoops you had to jump through.